as police from around the country showed up in New York for the funeral of Officer Wen-Jin Liu, one of the 2 New York officers shot to death in his squad car. During the funeral, many New York officers once again turned their backs facing video screens when Mayor Bill de Blasio spoke at the funeral. And despite the obvious tension between the mayor and the police, the focus did still remain on Detective Liu, his family, his widow, Pei-Ja Chen. She took the stage and broke down as officers folded the flag that draped her husband's casket. It was one final reminder that his life of service had come to a close. Several other New York officials showed up also for that funeral. And speaking of New York officials, Monday in New York, a wake for former Governor Mario Cuomo, who died last week. He was 82 years of age. Cuomo's funeral will be Tuesday morning in Manhattan. The 3-term governor died just hours after his son, Andrew Cuomo, was sworn in for a second term as New York's governor, a proud moment for his father, one that didn't last long. Cuomo knew his dad was in bad shape, but at the time of his speech, he didn't know his dad was just hours away from death. In his inaugural address, Governor Cuomo talked about removing prejudice from the justice system.
Or does the justice system now see black and white, or black and blue, or rich and poor?
That, of course, a big focus of Cuomo Jr. and his father. Now, Cuomo went on to say the criminal justice system should be reformed and law enforcement officers need to be protected, but also held accountable for their actions. Elsewhere, it's back to the bargaining table for the Raleigh telecommunications company Fairpoint and 1,700 union workers on strike. A lot of jobs on the line. It's the first time the 2 sides have come together to meet in over a month. Now, last time they tried to talk, the 2 sides left in an outrage just less than an hour into the conversation. That was before Thanksgiving. Now they're meeting up in Washington, D.C., where negotiation teams are helping to broker the conversation, trying to find common ground. The workers normally staff call centers and maintain communications network, mainly in New England, states like New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, while the rest of the employees in 14 other states worked throughout the holidays. These particular union members have been on strike since October, nearly 3 months now. They say they're hoping to get back to work, but only if Fairpoint agrees to their terms. The company says it's reached an impasse and says it will impose the terms of their final offer. They say they're going to move ahead, even if it means freezing the old pension plan that was in place. Even though investors admit there are some problems with the North Carolina-based company, many financial backers are urging the company to stand up to the union and refuse to give in to their demands. The Republicans will be in charge of both houses of Congress. When the 114th Congress is sworn in, Republicans will be in control in both houses for the first time since Barack Obama was sworn in as president. New Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell joined CNN to discuss some of his key agenda items for the new year.
We need to do everything we can to try to rein in the regulatory onslaught, which is the principal reason that we haven't had the kind of bounce back after the 2008 recession.
Now, part of that focus will be an effort to push through approval for that controversial oil pipeline from Canada, the Keystone Pipeline. The Democrats still see that as a non-starter. They say it's a bill that President Obama will veto anyway, and that's something he's threatened to do at every turn in the past. Speaking of President Obama, he recently arrived back at the White House, arrived home Sunday from a Christmas vacation in Hawaii. Now, he won't be staying around the Capitol for very long, though. In fact, he might not even get a chance to unpack his bags, if that's how a president travels. I'm not sure about that, but it's back on the road to promote his economic agenda for the new year. He's traveling this week to Michigan, Arizona, and Tennessee to discuss manufacturing, housing, and education policies. That news, according to White House officials. In Manhattan, detectives still working to find out who murdered Thomas Gilbert. The 70-year-old millionaire founded a successful hedge fund firm after a long career in biopharmaceuticals. He was living comfortably in a posh apartment just blocks from the United Nations building. Now, several reports from the New York Daily News and local NBC4 say Gilbert's very own son, Thomas Gilbert Jr., is the lead suspect. Reports say Gilbert Jr. was the only one in the apartment at the time of the shooting. When police arrived on the scene, they found a .40 caliber handgun inside the apartment and pronounced Gilbert dead immediately with gunshot wounds to the head. While police did take Gilbert Jr. into custody, they still haven't filed any charges against him, and they say the investigation is ongoing. Gilbert Sr. graduated from Princeton and Harvard before he went into Wall Street and pharmaceuticals. Just 3 years ago, he founded Wayne Scott Capital Partners. That company already has well over $200 million in assets. And finally, sad news, television lost one of its most prominent voices this weekend. ESPN SportsCenter anchor Stuart Scott lost his battle with cancer. But then again, winning and losing is all just a matter of perspective.
When you die, that does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live.
That was Scott accepting the Jimmy V Perseverance Award at last July's ESPY Awards. Scott's public battle with cancer started 7 years ago and inspired many cancer patients while he continued to show up to work throughout chemo treatments and failing health. Scott didn't just inspire people at home, he also paved the way for a new breed of on-camera talent. Scott's colorful style was a shock at first to many old-school TV executives, but when they started to realize how well he connected with such a large audience, they quickly changed their tune. Before Scott passed away, he left one last word of encouragement for those struggling with cancer.
So live, fight like hell. And when you get too tired to fight, then lay down and rest and let somebody else fight for you.